Hello, Dina Wakley here. Welcome to my messy studio. I thought I would clean up, but then I decided that you're friends. And you don't need to clean up when your friends come because they love you how you are, right? So I thought I would show you how I paint these little holiday birdies for the holiday season. I'm not that great at coloring, but I do love painting. And so I'm going to give them a kind of a watercolor-y painted look with my heavy body acrylic paint. So the colors I have here are blues and yellow, and then pink and red, and a little bit of night. The key here, my friends, is to paint loosely. Don't be tight and rigid about this. I want you to really loose. I want you to do really loose brush strokes, okay? So I'm using the Distress sprayer to add a little water to my craft sheet, because the key here is to take a little tiny bit of paint and mix it in the water, and that way you're watering it down and giving it a watercolor look. Now, I've had people try this and tell me, well, this doesn't feel like watercolor. That's because it's not watercolor, it's acrylic. You can get a watercolor look, but it's not going to perform quite like watercolors do, but it's still going to be awesome. The key here is that you have to have more water than paint, and you want to start with your light color. Don't start with your dark one because it's hard to know where to go from the dark color. So I start with a light color and I kind of loosely paint. And when you paint like this, in order to have a little highlight, which would normally be white, you need to leave it. You need to leave an area unpainted because you're not going to come back with white paint. You need to leave an area open. So keep that in mind. Don't focus on coloring the whole thing. Instead, color loosely, and please leave a few areas unpainted. Now, to get some shading, I'm going to mix a little lapis with water, and I'm going to paint the lapis right into the wet sky, and it will kind of float in that water, and what it will do is it will start to feather out in that water, and it will give me a little bit of shading. Super easy, right? The mistakes that I see people make when they do this in class is they're really tight and perfect. So I'm actually going to go out of the lines on purpose here a little bit, because that's one of the beauties of watercolor, is that it is loose and free, and you don't have to make it perfect. Goodness gracious, perfection's too hard. I don't do anything perfectly really, except be messy. I'm perfect at being messy. So now I'm going to take a little yellow, and I'm going to just add some water to it here. It's turning green because I have so much blue on my brush, but I'm just going to put a little dab of yellow in their bellies. So they've got a little yellow breast there. And then I'm going to take a little tiny bit of night, which is, as you know, is navy blue and is the best color ever. I'm going to just paint it around edges to get an even darker edge. Now, see how that's really dark? The reason why it's so dark is I didn't quite have enough water on my brush. So if I do that, I think to myself, oops, more water. And so I come back, put a little more water on my brush, and continue, and I find that I can usually save it. This is forgiving. It's not really tight and perfect. It's all loosey-goosey, right? And you want there to be edges of demarcation on that paint. You want it to dry like that. That's what gives it that cool watercolor look. I'm going to take a little more sky and just fill in a little bit more of the area. I think he needs a little pink cheek, don't you think? But see how he looks loose and painterly and watercolory? Watercolory is not a real word, but I'm just gonna pretend like it is. Don't they look cute? Now for the hats, I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna give a little touch of pink, because remember, I'm working light to dark. I'm not gonna paint the whole thing, because in order for there to be a highlight, I need to leave an area unpainted. And I'm going to add a little red into the pink along the edge so that I get a shadow in a darker area. And I'm still going to put a tiny bit of night on the edge there. Now I have a lot of water floating around on that hat, so as soon as I put this night paint, it's really gonna float. If you want your layers to be not so floaty, you need to let them dry in between, because this is painting wet into wet, so you're definitely gonna get mixing and floating no matter what. But I like that. That's one of my goals, actually. I think it looks really cool. So that's how to get a watercolored look with your Dina Wakley Media heavy body acrylic paint. And don't they look cute? Wouldn't they be great on your holiday cards? And have a great holiday.